Good morning, Earthlings. How are you today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Let's jump into our cosmic weather for today. Okay, starting at space weather. Solar wind is at 340.2. Our planetary K index is back down to a 2. Planetary M-class flares back down next to nothing. And then geomagnetic storm activity has dropped way down. You could see severe was up to 50%. Now it's back down to 15. Alright, and talks about the subsiding storm. Said a strong KP7 storm. So yesterday did get up as high as a KP7. So at least that's what they're listing as. KP7 storm sparked by CME is subsiding. So we knew that. Alright, astrologically, right here. So consciously we're dealing with the same sun sign, therefore the same element of air on the conscious mind. Air in terms of communication to balance out our activities, to balance us out. Karmic balance. The law of karma, what you put out you get back. Air. Unconscious, earth, Taurus the bull, practical application of how to create things, pleasurable things. The Taurus, the bull, likes the pleasurable things, creating things that make us feel comfortable, having those kind of physical things around us. So those are the things about Taurus. Also, Taurus is in the tarot cards. It is the Hierophant, the inner teacher. It's about listening. So there also implies listening to the inner teacher to bring the practical, that wisdom to life, so that it can be practical information brought forward into life itself. So you got earth underneath, subconscious, air on the outside. Just think of how air and earth work together in life. Same thing when working with the elements on subtle levels. Now we've gone past the full moon on our way back down. We're 94% still full, making our way back down to that new moon again. Be about 10 days. Mayan Oracle, we're at a 10-tone day, reflected right here in the 10th position. Kin for today is the hand. Guide for today is the eagle. That makes today a planetary hand guided by the eagle. Supporting cast members are the Earth, which is the challenge for today. Navigation, synchronicity, like-minded energy is the human, which is all about free will. And the hidden power, or the occult kin, is the wizard, which is all about timelessness. Altogether, the phrase for today is I perfect in order to know, producing healing. I seal the store of accomplishment with the planetary tone of manifestation. I am guided by the power of vision. And we take a look at our Zolkin. We'll see where we're at. We're still in the central column. We're going to be for some period of time, so use this time wisely, being in the center pillar here as everything revolves around. Alright, that's our cosmic weather today. So that's the energy that we are dealing with at the moment. Alright, moving right along. Spirit science. They have some good pieces they play that they've created, and this is another one. This is called DNA activation. I thought it fits right in line with our whole 2012 theme of what's going on. A lot of shifts taking place, changes being made to the DNA, to the actual structures of the beings on the planet. Whether you realize it or not, that is taking place, because that is what happens with all of these movements and these energetics that are taking place out in the universe. Anyway, here we go. This is Spirit Science DNA activation.
In part 1, we talked about the activation of our DNA, and this is a concept that is not entirely understood yet. This is something that is happening right now, It's not something that will happen all of a sudden and that you have to wait for. This is something that you and I get to activate by becoming more in tune and aware of ourselves. If we're just sitting around saying, "Goodness, I'm stoked for my DNA to activate, but in the meantime, I'm going to keep eating at McDonald's and keep watching TV for 4 hours a day and keep on being a jerk to people I don't like," then don't expect yourself to experience any profound shifts. The higher strands of your DNA will bring you more in tune with yourself, for they are you, and you have to be the one to choose the path of awareness and unity. So higher strands of DNA, what does this really mean? The portions of the DNA chain that science has presently identified as the double helix represents only the surface portions of the chemical, elemental, and electrical components of the active DNA strands. Science has yet to understand the multidimensional spectra of DNA manifestation, though we are beginning to remember. The human DNA imprint will always appear from external analysis as a two-strand double helix configuration in 3 dimensions. What is not understood is that within the double helix there are, and will be progressively more, additional double helix strands which fuse together. As our understanding evolves into the multidimensional spectra, the understanding of the structure and function of DNA will progressively advance. A team of Russian researchers working with DNA started a project to progressively learn more about DNA by combining forces with linguists, and have dived into the unknown of the 90% of junk DNA which we currently embody. Their findings are evolutionary. According to them, our DNA is not only responsible for the construction of our body, but is also used as data storage and in communication. They learned that the 90% of DNA follows the same rules as all of our human language. The way that sentences, paragraphs, and chapters work in a book is the same way that our DNA works. This is the first double helix strand, the one that Western science looks at, which is basically like a sentence of DNA. However, if you step back and see the bigger picture, you begin to see the paragraph. Stepping back further and you see the chapter, and so on. These larger and larger strands span through the different frequencies of reality, the different dimensions, which makes them harder to find in our modern science. Western science, instead of looking at DNA like this, we're cutting out pieces of DNA from here and adding them over here, which is similar to picking out words in certain sentences and putting them with other words in other sentences to see if they fit together and can make a new energy, a new idea. This is the nature of our junk DNA, of which Western science just didn't understand for the longest of times. The DNA isn't junk, it's just misunderstood, and also not as used right now because of our dense level of consciousness. However, we are beginning to activate and reawaken our DNA through our ever-expanding consciousness and our desire to know more. The very awareness of this DNA is what is activating it, awareness of our higher selves and our connection to the all and the interconnectedness to each other. We are directly connected to the earth as well, and exist as a part of it, kind of like a child in its mother's womb. If anything happens to the mother, it creates an energetic imprint that affects the child. The earth is our mother, hence the name Mother Earth. Our morphinogenic field exists as a part of her larger morphinogenic field of the earth. If something happens to the earth's energetic grid, then we inherit these problems into our own grid. Our energetic anatomy is exactly like the earth's, with chakras, meridians, axiotonal lines, and DNA. If something happens to the planet's grid, then that affects every person's DNA on the planet. We're at a very important point in history right now, because we are remembering how to regenerate our original organic imprint for health. We don't even need science and fancy equipment to do this. We're just required to learn how to use what we came here with. By moving into a space of love and light, opening and living from the heart, and living in a place of emotional stability and health, you can once again reactivate your light body, and in doing so, reconnect with the higher frequencies of your being. Energetic blockages will reveal themselves as problems in your own life. Depression, anxiety, temper rages, or personal problems in your life which are causing stuckness or driving you down a path of chaos or disruption are also energetic blockages. We talk a bit more about this in Lesson 13. A lot of teachings online demonstrate that there are specific shapes and geometries that you have to work with, such as the star tetrahedral Merkaba field, to reactivate your light body. This is true, but you also have to remember that the geometry is inherent to your being. It's actually not necessary to put pressure on yourself to put a star tetrahedral Merkaba field around your body and keep each piece spinning opposite to each other at this particular speed, at this particular ratio, and it is important to get the feel of it and understand where it is and what shape it is. Beyond that though, it's more importantly that you put your focus into love, your heart center, and creating a vibrant reality for yourself. Realize that you are a creator and that the experiences that you are having are of your creations. Bring love into your life and all of those around you. The light body will reactivate when you are ready, and you will know when you are ready. My advice is also to work with sacred geometry. If it resonates with you, put conscious thought into understanding things like the yin-yang, the understanding of duality. You can also work with the Trinity, which is understanding mind, body, and spirit, or wisdom, understanding, and beauty. Then there's the 4 elements of creation. Earth is physical, air is mental, water are emotional, and fire is spiritual. If you're familiar with the tarot, you can use it to go so much deeper into understanding the 4 elements, which is the basis of the 4 suits in a playing deck of cards. And the major arcana are the experiences that you go through, the toroidal field geometry, from the path to the Fool to understanding the all, from the singularity all the way around to the singularity. Beyond that, you can also try working with energies, meditate with crystals, go get Reiki, or practice Qigong. The more you work with them, the more receptive you become to feeling the energy fields all around you. The final thing I want to say is this: we are all one, and our DNA is connected. The process of DNA activation is as much a solo journey as it is a collective one. Through conscious conversation, getting in tune with your friends, and opening up your heart to those around you who you can trust will facilitate DNA activation within not just you, but those who you communicate with. Think of it like a big jigsaw puzzle, and everyone has a different piece of this puzzle. By simply communicating with them, hugging them, gazing into their eyes, listening to what they have to say, and sharing what you know with them, you will facilitate a transfer of energy. And that's just it. DNA activation is feeling, truly feeling more than you ever have before. There was a TED Talks by a man named Paul Zak who spoke about trust, morality, and oxytocin, the hormone that facilitated these feelings within. In my understanding, hormones like oxytocin are the third-dimensional manifestation of these feelings and vibrations from the higher frequency, coming down into the physical body. Just as the heart organ is the physical manifestation of the source and center of your being and a different frequency as well. I will link you to this video. And ultimately, what he concluded was that physical contact, hugging, holding hands, eye gazing, are some of the most important factors in awakening to your whole self. Opening up true feelings of trust and awareness of yourself and others is what's going to take us to the next level of human connection. For when we can look into another's eyes and see ourselves, that's when we know we're on the right track. Want to change the world? Paul's conclusion was 5 hugs a day, and make them count.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
Thank you very much, Dirk. This is the UFO News for today. Let's jump to it. I have 6 stories, it looks like. Alright, story number 1 comes to us from Mexico City. During the daytime, here's the object in question. Interesting UFO caught moving in the mountains of Mexico City, but not before someone noticed it and caught it on video with 6.5 minutes of footage. We have some idea of what it looks like and the direction it was headed. It's taking its time, like it's busy scanning the countryside for something. Okay. So there we go. There's our object flying across just as was in the picture. And 6.5 minutes of this kind of activity over Mexico City. Okay, have you seen one of these? All you gotta do is look up in the sky, get the process started. Next story moves us to New Mexico, Gallup, New Mexico. This is the Four Corners area. Stepped outside Looked up and saw the silver ball flying from north to southwest, pulsating, moving. Slow camera footage is shaky. So he said from southwest. Let's see, are we seeing it anywhere in the screen here? It's pretty faint, and no, it's here in the. Let's see. There it is, right there in the middle. It's very, very faint. Very, very faint. When you blow the screen up here and enlarge it, you'll be able to see it better, but it's right in the middle, and it's just very, very faint. Little white dot. Okay? Just like that right there. Right there. Okay, moving right along from New Mexico over to Tucson, Arizona. This was on the 29th. This was silent, flashing red, unidentified flying object above Tucson on Saturday the 29th. There we go. See it above the tree line there. And we definitely see the flashing that was just described. Not a helicopter, because they move differently. Not a plane, because we know how they move. So we got something over Tucson. From Tucson, we move over to Los Angeles. And this was in Los Angeles on the 30th. And according to this image here, there's a variety of them. Multiple UFOs. This picture shows 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. I mean, they seem to be very faint in this area here. Yeah, very faint. So, okay. So, that's our sighting above Los Angeles. And then from Los Angeles, we go to Spain. This is a cylindrical shape, moving at a good speed. There you go. Okay, here's another view of it there. Again, that's a pretty good size object, moving at a pretty good pace, certainly in comparison to the other ones. Okay, so over Spain, and then finally we have one more story here. This is about the UFO and the sun. Another story there. Giant cube UFO near sun is amazing shape. Okay. So, hey guys, I just came back from jogging this afternoon, looked in the mirror and realized I got a sunburn from the last 2 hours. Well, it's time for some payback. I checked out the NASA SOHO photos and found this one. This is on the official NASA iPhone app called SOHO. Photo shows beautiful detail of the edges of the UFO. I love this beautiful silhouette of the craft. It might even be mistaken for a doorway into the sun, but it is a cube mothership. Sure, it's big, about 3 Earths across, but when you have robots to build for you and your lifetime is forever, then size should not matter. Also, we really do not know the size of the aliens inside. They could be giants compared to us. Clearly, they are harvesting something from our sun. Let's hope that it won't harm us in the process. December 21st, 2012 is just 80 days away. So there we go. We said we'll see if this has something to do with it. But again, the black cube up by the sun. And that's right, 2012, December 21st is only 80 days away. So remember, the closing of a cycle, it's not that this is all of a sudden going to happen. It's the ending of the cycle. That means whatever is going on is finishing itself right now. So the changes that are taking place, you're in the midst of them. So that's all I got to say. Just keep paying attention. That's the important part. I'll be right back. Stay tuned.
What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth.
continuing on. Next up here is this story from RT. Now, you heard about the cyber attack at the White House. So what do you think? Do you think it's real, or do you think this is just a false flag? Do you really think that our military is so lax that we really could allow and have someone like China or another country actually hack into the White House? Don't you think that we have security upon security upon security upon security? And if somebody could get into the White House, wouldn't it seem a bit concerning? And hearing the story that somebody did supposedly get into the White House, the Chinese, and then they just sort of shrug it off, it's no big deal, doesn't that seem to be a bit weird also? All of them add up to weirdness, but we know our government is not honest with us, so again, par for the course. And shame on you, government, that we know that you are so corrupt. You should all be very ashamed of yourself for your behavior. Anyway, here we go.
Cybersecurity was right around the corner. Now might be the time to cast it aside. According to a series named and unnamed officials, now more than ever, extra protection is needed to guard against hackers who want to find out our secrets and gain access to our most sensitive information, especially when the perpetrators are from China. That's according to an article in the conservative Washington Free Beacon. It says hackers linked to China's government broke into one of the U.S. government's most sensitive computer networks, breaching a system used by the White House Military Office for nuclear commands. The article goes on to quote a White House official who said that this was a spear phishing attack against an unclassified network. So I want to talk about what all this means, kind of break it down for you, how severe it is, and what it could mean on a larger scale. And for that, I'm joined by RT web producer Andrew Blake.
Christine Frizell.
Andrew, let's start with spear phishing. What does this mean? What can it do?
I mean, it can do anything, but it's kind of a whole lot of nothing, if you ask me. This story came out yesterday, like I said, in was it the Beagle, the Beacon?
The Washington Free Beacon.
The Washington Free Beacon, which a lot of us in the office went, what is that?
Bill Gertz, I believe, was
Yes, yes.
Right,
and so
right.
we started digging around who used to work for the Washington Times and might actually still be employed there. But so we start going through and trying to find out what's this big scare that we see today. Because within hours, it starts, it hits HuffPo, the AP puts it on the wire, and then we start seeing news sources come in saying new things. And the White House did confirm and say, yes, we were hit by a cyber attack, or at least it attempted to be hit by a cyber attack, which sounds really scary. That word itself, attack, it's a little aggressive, a little aggro. But spear phishing. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
It's not really that scary. Like I said, it can do a lot, but there was no crazy Chinese scientists trying to infiltrate our internet tubes and working in vast machines, typing codes, trying to scare us. What spear phishing is someone goes, I wanna get the White House. I'm gonna find someone from the White House. And they'll go and they'll send emails to anyone they can from the White House. And they'll try to make these emails look clever. And they'll say, oh, hi, I'm gonna need your help. Can I have your password? I mean, obviously you can be a bit more complex than that, but you want to try to trick someone into thinking that you're somebody else. It's pretty much just social engineering. It's more of hacking the brain than it actually is hacking a computer. You just want to convince someone to let up their guard, and then maybe if you convince them to open some sort of corrupted PDF file or some sort of other program, then they can unleash whatever you want onto the system.
Yeah, and I would think that anyone that works for the White House, whether it's someone in the intelligence community or even somebody on the custodial staff, anyone with a White House email, I cannot imagine that they would be clicking on these links. Yeah. A lot of times, when these emails are sent to me, I often see them in my junk mailbox.
Yeah, exactly. It's like pretty much the same thing as like the old Nigerian oil prince scam or something like that. In fact, someone, Fox picked up the story this afternoon and, fear-mongered the hell out of it instantly, but actually put a quote in there with someone saying, like, what did this come down to? Someone opened an email. And that was it. There was no
It wasn't
crazy,
some crazy hacking into the system.
Yeah, Chinese spies didn't break through like the West Wing windows and start like smashing stuff and putting little USB drives inside like the president's phone. No,
You know,
I mean they could have, but
right.
yeah.
But the fact that it was, you know, sort of the department that's in charge of White House scheduling, that knows where the president's going to be at all times, this was cause for a whole lot of people to say, we need cybersecurity legislation now.
And that's so funny because they've been saying that for so long, and it seems like they've been continuously looking for a new excuse to convince us that that's a good idea.
So you're connecting some dots here. You're saying that the only reason this story came out is perhaps because it was another reason to put in sort of the arsenal of reasons.
I don't want to say that per se.
Okay.
It seems like it would be a bit facetious of me just to assume things like this.
Right.
However, Congress couldn't come up with a cybersecurity bill. The Senate and the House couldn't agree on anything. The White House said, oh, we'll take care of it then. The White House confirmed that they drafted an executive order, and the White House said that they will release an executive order. And all they've needed to do is pretty much scare America into thinking that a cybersecurity threat, which is a threat, it is real, but this maybe, it got a little blown up today. I think we're a little scared. We're all on Monday.
Are you scared?
I'm not scared at all. I'm not scared of anything. But it's Monday. We're all on edge.
But Andrew, let me read you a quote from this article. It said, quote, "This is the most sensitive office in the U.S. government," a former senior U.S. intelligence official said. "A compromise there would cause grave strategic damage to the United States."
Yet someone just opened up an email. I don't believe that for a second. I'm sure there's some people at the Pentagon that are pretty pissed that apparently they aren't have high clearance as this guy.
There's something else we have to talk about
Absolutely.
with this, something that a lot of times is ignored. Cybersecurity, once the executive order especially is handed down, this is going to create an entirely new infrastructure in this country and around the world. It's going to create a whole lot of business, which could be good for jobs, but there's going to be a lot of people who want these contracts.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so this is turning into something that seems to be a financial blessing for a lot of people as well.
I believe it was actually Senator Wyden or Senator Udall, excuse me, I don't remember which one, but when they were raising objections to the CISPA bill earlier this year, before that was defeated, they actually, one of them, I forget who, actually said, you know, this is going to create a cyber intelligence complex. This is going to be like the military war machine that we're pumping all this money in and just making all of Northern Virginia filthy rich. It's going to be the same thing, and people are just going to become like I said, filthy rich off of just sharing other people's info, stealing it, and selling it to the government. Yes.
Even now, I've been reading, the Washington Post has actually covered this a little bit. Cybersecurity, employees, people who have this background, this knowledge that have been coming in and getting jobs, they've been able to sort of drive up the value of what they're worth because there's more of a demand than there is a supply for that. So these people are making exorbitant amounts of money to be able to come and do these jobs. So imagine when there's this entirely new complex, as you call it.
Federal agencies are actually going to colleges right now and trying to recruit hackers so that they'll be doing their dirty work in the next generation. So
very interesting.
So we'll see what'll happen.
Yeah, we will. Thanks for breaking that down. A lot of technical terms that sometimes not all of us are familiar with.
I probably screwed something up. Sorry.
I'm sure you didn't. RT web producer Andrew Blake, thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right, so there you go. So that's what's going on in the world of cybersecurity. Again, more lies. You know, it's funny when you hear they talk about the White House has been compromised. The White House has been compromised because there's a man in the office who shouldn't be there. Okay? For all the other nonsense that they're talking about, the fact that they can't see that one means that they are absolutely inept or ignoring the possibility that the man in the office is not who he says he is. They certainly haven't bothered to look at Sheriff Joe's information to see what the cold case posse has brought up. They certainly haven't looked at all of the information and all of the ways in which Obama continues to cover up his background, and yet they seem surprised that these things occur inside the White House. Corruption, corruption, corruption. It's been corrupt for a while, and it's getting worse. Okay, now remember the other day we talked about the GOP and the RNC and the problem they were having with the consulting company. Well, here's another presidential debate issue, presidential selection. This is a loss of sponsorship over exclusion of third-party candidates. The Commission on Presidential Debates, a bipartisan project of the Republican Democratic parties, was established at least in part to make sure that major party presidential candidates would be unlikely to suffer the indignity of sharing a stage with an outsider. The effort hasn't been completely successful. Ross Perot actually managed to meet the CDP's nearly prohibitive criteria for inclusion in 1992, but the two parties now have a lot more control over the ritualistic meetings between their chosen contenders than they did back in the wild and woolly days when they would be thrown curveballs by such unpredictable loose cannon debate hosts of the past as the League of Women's Voters. That staged, managed, private club quality taken on by the CDP's debate may not be working out in their favor this year, with 3 debate sponsors pulling out explicitly to avoid being seen as endorsing Republicans and Democrats at the expense of candidates from the other political parties. So that's good. People are waking up. It's not supposed to be about Democrat and Republican. This isn't supposed to be a democracy. This was set up as a republic, folks. A republic. We're not supposed to be following the idiots in Washington who are telling us the stupid things. We're supposed to ignore the idiots because idiots are just idiots. And when they're supposed to be running the country and then they're doing all of the corrupt things that they're doing, you got to learn and use your discretion and know how to walk away from such stupidity. Now, here's one of Obama's buddies there. Eric Holder participated in armed takeover of former Columbia University ROTC office as a college student. There he is. Look at this guy. And we're surprised. He was doing such things back then. As a freshman at Columbia University in 1970, future Attorney General Eric Holder participated in a 5-day occupation of an abandoned Naval Reserve officer training court. Headquarters with a group of black students later described by the university's Black Students Organization as armed, the Daily Caller has learned. Department of Justice spokeswoman Tracy Schmaler has not responded to questions from the Daily Caller about whether Holder himself was armed, and if so, with what sort of weapon. Holder was then among the leaders of the Student Afro-American Society, which demanded from the former ROTC office be renamed the Malcolm X Lounge. The change, the group insisted, has to be made in honor of a man who recognized the importance of territory as a basis for nationhood. Black radicals from the same group also occupied the office of Dean of Freshmen Harry Coleman until their demands were met. Holder has publicly acknowledged being part of that action. So, when they were corrupt back then, it's no surprise that they're still corrupt now. And yet, they're paraded before you, so you actually think they have integrity. And the spin that they're trying to do is to get you to believe that they do. And you know, it works with some of you. Not with everyone. There are people out there paying attention. Now, remember all the talk when the Obamacare bill came out and the concerns about some of the wording inside there, and one of the things talked about was death panels? Well, here, Obama advisor admits we need death panels. A top Democratic strategist and donor who served as President Obama's lead auto industry advisor recently conceded that the rationing of health services under Obamacare is inevitable. Stephen Ratner advocated that such rationing should target elderly patients while stating we need death panels. Ratner serves on the board of the New American Foundation, or NAF, a George Soros-funded think tank that was instrumental in supporting Obamacare in 2010. Soros' son, financier John Soros, is also a member of that foundation's board. Well, New American Foundation, that should say enough. George Soros, that guy's a piece of work, and one day the toilet of life is going to open up and he's going to flush right down with all the other stuff that should be flushed down toilets. Just nonsense. Why do we have these people running our country? It's because people have fallen asleep and allowed these scumbags to get in positions of power. That's why. Okay, here's another one. This is the glorious leader, Obama, and the Obama nation that he has created. He's telling people, Obama tells the audience there will be hand-to-hand combat if Republicans win. The great winter uniter is at it again with his masterful use of words to energize his base before his elections. Let's see how the base is getting energized. Earlier, Obama told members of the Black Caucus, we must guard the change. And after we have a few more people getting beat up at political rallies by thugs, we have a DOJ whistleblower saying that the administration plans on massive voter fraud, a massive investigation of voter fraud in Houston happening right now, and the Obama administration is also being investigated for using confidential taxpayer information in an effort to attack a political opponent. Sounds like they are already energized enough. Now, the president of change tells Michael Bateson's syndicated radio show that if the Republicans take over, it will mean hand-to-hand combat to keep the policies we Democrats enacted. Really? If the will of the people voted the Democrats, it's because of our policies, just like you and the liberals said when you were voted in. Now, only now, many people are seeing how radical you are, and they didn't vote for that. So, hand-to-hand combat. That's what we're going to do. We've seen Obama throw a baseball. Pretty sad. We hope we never have to see that again. We've seen him throw a football. Don't need to see that again. Can you imagine how Obama's going to fight if he had to be involved in hand-to-hand combat? Don't need to see that. That would be just absolutely silly, and we can just bypass that whole thing. So let's skip the hand-to-hand combat because, well, I think Obama's probably a pretty big sissy and would run scared if he got in a situation where he had to hand-to-hand combat anybody. Okay, now here's something that has been talked about for a while. Obama and making an announcement that would declare martial law. Now, why would he do this? Well, obviously, if a situation got to the point where he wasn't going to get elected as the president, he could declare martial law, keep himself in power, suspend the election. This has been a talk and a concern for a while. It's been a rumor that this is going to happen, but what would be the trigger point? Is it going to be a false flag event, something that is taking place? Is it going to be the economy crashing, or is it going to be something else? Well, this article addresses the subject, the possibility that it could be the announcement of Planet X or ET presence. President Obama making plans for a one-term presidency, but secretly planning to announce Planet X between the Earth and the Sun, which will, in one continuous action, reveal extraterrestrials on Earth. I do not remember an election so divisive. Oh, except the last one, and the one before that, and the one before that. And, well, after the RNC, many people I spoke with have not changed their minds, other than the one who said they would never watch another Clint Eastwood movie again. The first empty chair debate was when Coolidge was running in 1924 and did not show for a debate. This is an American tradition. Other than some humor which many did not appreciate, what is going on with the political process is that in the face of Planet X, pole shift, and open contact with ETs all in our future. Condoleezza Rice did mention all of this tectonic plate movement. Everyone should be reading. There's a link to Zeta Talk if you want to know what is overshadowing all the political processes. Do people know subconsciously all governments are about to collapse? Who is watching the RNC? Not the public, as this little fact reveals. More people watched a regular episode of Honey Boo Boo than watched the network coverage of the Republican conference. Fox News got 1.2 million viewers and the network's far less. I watched it on C-SPAN because there are no commercials and no talking heads. Now comes this interesting article and its update, stating that behind the scenes Democratic friends of Obama, including billionaire Hyatt Hotel Harris, Penny Pritzker, are selecting and purchasing a home in the $35 million range near the University of Hawaii, where the new Obama Presidential Library would be located, and near the airport in the event. So select oceanfront sea level community of Kalu on Oahu. The reasoning, whether true or not, is Obama and his supporters have realized that they will lose the election and he will be a one-term president. So he needs a new hometown and absolutely plans to move into it by January. As the Zetas have stated that he plans to announce Planet X between the Earth and the Sun now and later possibly declare a national emergency and even possibly suspend the elections. This is one hell of a backup plan. With pole shift about to occur at any time, not tomorrow but shortly, why would someone purchase a sea level home on Oahu? Why would someone who knows the pole shift and the 600-foot tidal wave surges and final sea level rise of up to 700 feet purchase an oceanfront home, even if the new resident loves golf and the house is next to a recently Chinese purchased golf course? One answer is that Hawaii will survive the narrowing of the Pacific by riding high in the plate that slides over the Pacific plate. Another is that the property faces the USA, not Asia, and thus might be spared the largest of the tidal onslaughts. Really? So the article goes on, you can see. Anyway, very interesting because we are in the closing phases of this 2012 experience. 80 days to go. Something could happen, and we have heard this rumor before. Hey, it's not beyond the government to lie to the American people. It's not beyond the government to run false flags against the American people. They do it all the time. So it's not beyond the government to come out with information like this and for Obama to suspend the elections. It actually would be par for the course, because what else? Somebody like him, who, when you're losing, what else do? You stop things. That's what they do. When the presidents lose, they have to find a way to get everybody to think that they were really winning, and sometimes stopping things, well, they think that people are dumb, but people are smarter than they give them credit for. That's for sure. Okay, one last piece before we get into the readings of the Warrior of the Light. This is a piece I thought that you would find interesting. It's 7.5 minutes long. It's called, Are You an Incarnated Star Person? Now, there's a lot of beings on this planet who are not from here. Maybe you know it, maybe you don't. We'll listen to what this piece is all about and see if this kind of triggers anything inside of you. Here we go.
Hello everyone. So I wanted to talk about, are you an incarnated star person? Last week we talked about disclosure, and that seemed pretty popular, actually, that video. And people wrote me in response to that. They wrote me privately, and they also commented on the page, on the video. And I felt like there was a lot of questions about star beings, and one of them being that there are so many people out there right now who are seeing UFOs and having really powerful experiences. For instance, one woman wrote me and said that one morning she felt guided to look out of her bedroom window, and she saw a UFO that was glowing, and she felt like it was her star family kind of looking out for her, and I believe it was as well. And I had a similar experience with waking up in the middle of the night and looking out of the window just from my bed and seeing a blue light in the sky like a UFO. And UFO is unidentified flying object, but I felt like it was a celestial craft. But I felt like it was my star family, and that they were just kind of looking out for me, and they sent me, I just had this wave of peaceful, loving energy wash over me. And I felt like that was from the Pleiadians specifically. But anyways, so people are having cool experiences, and they're wondering, does that mean I'm a star person? What does that mean? Well, there are incarnated star people, and you don't have to be an incarnated star person in order for the Pleiadians or other highly ascended spiritual beings from other planets and dimensions to visit you or to make an impact in your life. So you don't have to be an incarnated star person, but incarnated star people, incarnated from other planets. That means they live their previous lives mostly on other planets and have come here to help raise the vibration of this planet right now, and as well as to teach people about UFOs and the existence of other star beings and about other dimensions and even quantum physics and things like that. Incarnated star beings feel drawn to UFOs and sci-fi stuff like Star Trek, for instance, but they also have a deeply spiritual life and might even have Atlantean past life memories. And this is because at one time on Earth, our star brothers lived here with us on this planet. We all live together on this planet at one time. And sometimes we even go and visit them. Humanity and civilization is far older than archaeologists and scientists believe, and actually they are starting to learn more about this. If you watch the show Ancient Aliens, you'll kind of start to see some of that come up. They actually talk about Atlantis a lot. It's very interesting. Incarnated beings also can be contactees, or have seen UFOs all throughout their lives, or simply just have meditation or astral or dream experiences with celestial crafts or star beings, particularly their own star family. Now, there are also some people who are hybrids, and that means that they are partially human with more with extraterrestrial DNA as well. I have to say that we all have ET DNA within us. I totally believe that. But because we are all one, we're all part of each other and part of the universe, and we all just have a lot of that carried within us, within our DNA, and on a spiritual level as well. But the hybrids have a little more ET DNA than the average human. And actually, some hybrids are even dropped off on this planet when they're very young. And some are hybrids as a result through their parents either being abducted or being contactees throughout their life. So there are many types of ET hybrids. Some just, there are different types, just like there are different types of ETs and even like different types of humans. There are different types of hybrids, and some of them, they'll have slightly different gifts than others. Like some might be a little more psychic, some might be just like super genius, some might not have very many emotions, and some just have a deeper sense and connection to spirit. So if you feel that you're an incarnated star person or a hybrid, or if you've had cool UFO experiences, or are a contactee, even if you've had just like one UFO experience, please write us, comment below the video, or you can visit the Fairies and Angels magazine on Facebook and write us and let us know about your experiences. And I'm creating here, my intention is to create a loving forum for people to discuss their experiences and this topic. And I will be monitoring the comments as well, so I won't allow people to be saying mean things, because to some people it's very woo-woo, but I know you're a light worker, I'm a light worker, and we know that they're real and they're out there. So let's start talking about it. I know you probably already have been talking about it with a lot of others, but let's share our experiences. So next week I will be talking about the differences between abductees and contactees, because there's a huge difference there, and what all of that means. So have a wonderful week.
All right, very good. So that kind of gives you a little bit of insight of what's going on with different types of beings upon this planet. If you're a star being, if you're from another place, you probably know. Okay, Warrior of the Light, it is time. It is time for Warrior of the Light. So what I'd like you to do is go ahead, close your eyes, and relax. Close your eyes and relax. Alright, let's continue on with the readings here. Each warrior of the light contains within him a spark of God. His destiny is to be with other warriors, but sometimes he will need to practice the art of the sword alone. This is why, when he is apart from his companions, he behaves like a star. He lights up his allotted part of the universe and tries to point out galaxies and worlds to all those who gaze up at the sky. The warrior's persistence will soon be rewarded. Gradually other warriors approach, and they join together to form constellations, each with their own symbols and mysteries. Sometimes the warrior feels as if he were living two lives at once. In one of them he is obliged to do all things he does not want to do, and to fight for ideas in which he does not believe. But there is another life, and he discovers it in his dreams, in his reading, and in his encounters with people who share his ideas. The warrior allows his two lives to draw near. There is a bridge that links what I do with what I would like to do, he thinks. Slowly his dreams take over his everyday life, and he realizes that he is ready for the thing he always wanted. Then all that is needed is a little daring, and his two lives become one. The warrior, write down again what I told you. The warrior of the light needs time to himself, and he uses that time for rest, contemplation, and contact with the soul of the world. Even in the midst of battle, he manages to meditate. Occasionally, the warrior sits down, relaxes, and lets everything that is happening around him continue to happen. He looks at the world as a spectator. He does not try to add to it or take away from it. He merely surrenders unresistingly to the moment of life. Little by little, everything that seemed complicated begins to become simple, and the warrior is glad. The warrior of the light is wary of people who think they know the path. They are always so confident in their own ability to make decisions that they do not notice the irony with which destiny writes each life, and they always complain that when the inevitable knocks at the door. The warrior of the light has dreams. His dreams carry him forward, but he never makes the mistake of thinking that the way is broad and the gate is wide. He knows that the universe functions in the same way as alchemy. Solve et coagula, said the masters. Concentrate and disperse your energies according to the situation. There are moments when one should act and moments when one should accept. The warrior knows how to distinguish between these moments. Once he has learned how to use a sword, the warrior of the light discovers that his equipment is still incomplete. He needs armor. He sets off in search of this armor, and he listens to the advice of various salesmen. Use the breastplate of solitude, says one. Use the shield of cynicism, says another. The best armor is to not get involved in anything, says the third. The warrior, however, ignores them. He calmly goes to a sacred place and puts on the undescribable cloak of faith. Faith parries all blows. Faith transforms poison into crystal clear water. I always believed everything everyone tells me, and I'm always disappointed, says his companions. A warrior of the light is not afraid of disappointments because he knows the power of his sword and the strength of his love. It is important to trust people. However, he imposes certain limits. It is one thing to accept God's signs and to know that the angels use the mouths of other people to give us advice. It is quite another to be incapable of making decisions and to always be looking for ways of letting others tell us what we should do. A warrior trusts other people because, first and foremost, he trusts himself. Take a deep breath. Exhale. Imagine all of your chakras are activated from the bottom of the spine upward. Red at the bottom of your spine, orange at the belly button, yellow just below the rib cage, green at the heart, blue at the throat, violet at the third eye, indigo at the crown chakra. Imagine yourself filled with this multicolored energy. feel what this energy feels like flowing through your body. And then as it overflows, feel it spilling over, forming a light around you that expands outward into the room that you are in. And from the room out into the entire house or building. And from there outward into the streets, to the city, to the neighborhood, to the country you are in, and across the sea to all of the other countries around the planet. Imagine each and every individual doing this. And as such, we protect the very planet on which we live. We send love and light down into the very planet, letting her know that we are here to work with her, not against her. And we send love and light to each other, knowing we are here to work with each other. And when we work together, miraculous things become manifest. Now let's just think a good thought for everybody in the world. And as we do so, we'll bring our energy and attention back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. There you have it. Another show has come to an end. 80 days left till the winter solstice of 2012. So make good use of the time. Pay attention to what's going on, because the changes are happening as we speak. I'll be back tomorrow with more news and information. You have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace. I'm out of here.